And then the other thing I wanted to mention. So this is a side rant. I actually have this up on my website here. So the video, as far as this recording, is going to be posted here, and then here's all the links. But here at the bottom, right? EMP, electromagnetic pulse, is it FUD? So fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Some personal thoughts. Unless you are unless you're a power systems engineer or a physicist that's been studying this stuff, how can you truly say or even comment on electromagnetic pulse and say with certainty that it's FUD? That it's just fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and we don't need to pay attention to it, or we don't need to address it as an industry. And some of the people I see comment on this and make this statement, they're actually coming over from IT, from the general IT industry, computing industry. They don't have a physics background, they don't have an electrical engineering background, but they're making these statements. There's seriously, when you really get on the topic of even EMP, there's really only a handful of people that I consider, somewhat experts in this. And I've been taking a closer look at this stuff for the past 4 or 5 years, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But I honestly, I don't think it's necessarily 100% FUD, so fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And there's a reason. And if you look at that second bullet, as far as one reason. So, we know geomagnetic disturbances. So this is basically solar storms. The plasma, comes from the coronal CME, coronal mass ejection, travels, not necessarily at the speed of light, but pretty fast, right? It's coming from the sun. And then it interacts with Earth's magnetic field, and then it causes oscillations as far as the magnetic field, the disturbance, and this moving back and forth, this kind of waving, going back and forth, actually induces a quasi-DC current on the transmission lines. So these are big conductors, big transmission lines, essentially an antenna. So whenever you have a voltage drop on one side compared to the other side, what happens? Higher potential, lower potential, you get current flowing. So we've actually seen these types of GMD events destroy transformers, burn them up, burn up the core. And we know that electromagnetic pulses, at least high altitude ones, can produce a similar type of event as a GMD event. And if we look at, I'm going to basically show you all this link real quick. And this is the Louisiana Grid Coalition. So it's a group here in Louisiana that's looking at all these different threats. And if you go to this link and come here to the bottom, so this was a industry conference hosted by the IEEE Power and Energy Society, who is really an international expert in all systems of the power, or all aspects of the power systems, power grid. So these are university professors, these are industry experts. And look at this. You're looking at these different formulas, talking about mutual impedance, load losses, maintaining situational awareness, and these are, eight different videos examining geomagnetic disturbances, the technology, the equations, the simulations, the modeling around this stuff. Then that's just GMD, right? That's just geomagnetic disturbances. So unless you are at this level, right, unless you are studying this stuff at this level, I don't understand how you can comment and say that universally EMP, electromagnetic pulse, is completely FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There was one person that I saw comment on this who I really respect, and in some cases I agree with his statement, and that was Dr. Schweitzer, Dr. Edward Schweitzer, who founded Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. A lot of uses as far as their technology in the grid, and his response was, an EMP event would not cause a total blackout, and I agree with that. I really do agree with that. It may cause a localized event, but then again, this is just me scratching the surface looking at this stuff. But like I said, I don't see how just random people can comment on this and say that it's FUD. That EMP, it's not going to have, or there would be no impact, right, of a type of event. And then, just some quick humor, personal thought. By calling things you don't understand FUD, you are spreading FUD, which equals more confusion and slowing how the industry advances. So the act of naming things FUD is FUD, which means this post calling FUD FUD is likely FUD. So a little funny thing, but that's it brings up a thing, right? As far as people calling things FUD to increase their own brand, to try to propel their own perception as far as being industry experts, when they have no background in this stuff. So yeah, FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, calling things FUD, in my opinion, when you don't understand it, is a way of spreading more FUD, right? Because you're talking FUD about FUD. So this whole thing, right, is probably FUD. So anyways, like I said, side rant. I don't mean to call anybody specifically out, but just please be aware of who you're really listening to. And this is important. This is important stuff. We need to make sure that we're engineering a safer, more secure, more reliable power grid, power systems, and taking into an account everything. Especially as we're bringing more and more stations online, things that we can engineer and integrate into these stations to protect against threats in the future or events in the future. We need to consider that, especially if it can be done economically here at the short term.